It's like talking to customer service. I empathize with you, sir, and I'm sorry you went through that. But thank you for being a valued customer. It's about that good. So here's my canned response in return. This has to do with skate parks. That crap. So somebody wrote me back and they attempted to be very diplomatic. They didn't capitalize their first word. And that's not the end of the world, but yeah, it stands out. Oh, I take that back. I thought this one was to me, but it's to the other Scott. And this is the one I was going to reply to, first of all, anyway, because they left a social engineering sticker in there because they were praising him for his kind words. Because he did say that the skate park was so fucking super and stuff, but he also did tell me that I was committing a fucking hate crime. Either way, I'm wrong there. I thought they wrote me back on both. So, as this reads, thanks for sharing your thoughts. I'd like to clarify that our skate retreat is far from an elitist venture. As a female skateboarder who grew up in a council house with a single mom and 6 siblings, I've experienced disparity firsthand, and that's probably true. My journey is I can't read today. I just woke up. Pardon me, everybody. My journey in skateboarding spans over 20 years, including founding Girls Skate UK more than a decade ago to address the disparity female skaters face within the skate community. So, real fast, there's a gal that I skate with. And a while back, she brought up the fact that fewer girls were skateboarding, blah, 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 blah. And at the time, I was drunk, and I was like, bullshit. But it is true. It is true. And I was drunk at the time and just being a cantankerous asshole. Back to point. But I don't like the polarizing shit. You don't see dude skate, men skate, da 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 da. It's still polarizing, and it's still missing the fucking mark, in my humble opinion. It's counterproductive doing it that way. It is. You see this if you apply what I'm getting at with what people are shopping around today. Or if you think of the feminist-driven bullshit that was funded by the Rockefeller Trust. Or you think about washing both of them away and calling everything non-binary. None of that is productive. It's just as good as a white dude and a black dude being at each other's throats or still standing in 2 different rooms complaining about each other. It's not productive. The point is to band together. That is the fucking point. When people talk about equality and all that other stuff, that's the only way that ever fucking happens. So long as people keep creating a rift, it's not going to happen. That's what I'm trying to spit out. What's it say? Our retreats aim to offer an alternative to the traditional city skate scene. Why? I mean, I've seen people with square wheels and shit trying to go down. I mean, some of it does work, but going down gravel hills and shit like that. I have seen people snowboard down grassy hills and shit like that. Maybe that's somebody's thing. I mean, I have met people in Portland, Oregon who river surf, and that's kind of neat. I think that's kind of neat. But typically speaking, to have the conditions you need a fucking river surf man-made construction, not unlike some of these bullshit parks, especially one that's out of town. You have to use a bunch of money on now because gas prices are purposely hiked up, even though fossil fuels aren't fossil fuels. That's another aspect of this, I think, having to do with a bunch of yuppies who have money to be able to do this. They have vehicles, that's me being grumpy because I fucked myself over and I haven't had one in 10 years and blah, 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 blah. But I do think it's a luxury that a lot of people don't have. And I have met a shit ton of people who do relate. Maybe I haven't told you guys this before. I used to work in an independent bookstore back in New Mexico. This is back when I thought I would always have a vehicle and I would always drive, no matter what. Once I got a truck, I thought that will never end. I definitely wouldn't shoot myself in the foot and or make it end. I didn't think that would ever happen. I met a guy from California who told me he came from a really superficial setting, and he stressed that in every way. People, spiritually, mentally, physically, they had to wear the top-notch clothes that just came out and get rid of them the moment that the trend was, over. Shit like that. And so when I met him, he said he didn't have a car, and I didn't understand why he didn't have a car, because he still had some money. He wasn't super fucking rich. He was a black dude, and I forgot which, man, I can't remember where he came from. I don't remember which town in California. Either way, maybe if I think about it long enough. I miss that guy too. Yeah, that's a whole nother ball of wax, but I haven't seen him since. What was it? So he was living, in some ways, a very bohemian or impoverished life, but it was by choice, is my point. And over the years, I've thought about him, and I've thought about his plight, and I've thought about, the choices he made. He's actually somebody that I feel like I met at a certain time for a certain reason, for it to reflect back on me many, many years later. So when I went into these wilderness years, I thought about fucking AJ, because he had some of this figured out long before I did. Back to point. Where's it at again? So she said, providing a space in nature where skaters can find calm, focus, and community, as well as I guess it should say as well as learn new skills outside of skateboarding. Like what? As Bambi Price said, we are a group of working class skateboarders with no corporate backing. That doesn't mean shit if you built a fucking skate park out of town that's inaccessible to people. That's another way I look at this. Is you got, I've met people here in town who have one crummy fucking board, you know what I mean? And they have no means of getting out there to any of this type of shit. That's that. This reminds me of something else. That girl I told you guys that I skate with, the other day she gave one of her decks to a dude, and I still think that's really fucking neat. I think that's really fucking neat. There's a homeless guy here in town that I've considered doing that for, but I'm still on the fence with it. I'm waiting for him to do the typical, you know what a bastard I am? Yeah, so I'm waiting for him to do what I would rather him not do, but so far he's been nothing but fucking neat every time I've ever interacted with him. He used to have a deck, and we'd pass each other. We'd see each other in passing often. And the other day he had rented a bike. I don't know if somebody stole it, if he lost it, if it, got fucked up in the street. Who knows what? But the other day we were riding next to each other after dealing with some fucking yuppies, and we had a brief conversation again. But he never asks me for anything. He never does the typical bullshit that most people do. Hey, do you got a cigarette? Hey, do you got this? Hey, do you got that? Hey, do you got this? I don't know you, but I'm expecting you to give me something. What do you got? He's never done that, which is why I was thinking about giving him a deck. Some of you guys probably also know a couple years back, I went through a couple holidays, and everybody and their fucking grandmother gave me skateboard decks. And it's weird. So through the wilderness years here, just to paint another muddy picture, I've spent most of the holidays in Portland, Oregon alone. Just in case you're like, does he get skateboard decks every year? No. And some of this, what I'm trying to say, the gal that I hang out with, I was invited into their circle. And so some of her relatives took a liking to me, and every one of them got me a skateboard deck. I think they all knew that they did this. I think they know that you can't ride more than one. But sometimes when you see all of those in the house, just in case you guys are wondering, I have bought some too. When I first started getting some of these things, what was it? I think the Zero board. I think I got a Zero board. The Misfits one, I think, is the first one I got. And then eventually, what was it? I swindled some shit too and saved up. Either way, I got another one of those Misfits ones. So long story short, many, that's not true with me. Many years ago, I really, really wanted a skateboard with, the Crimson Ghost horse shit. Just me being a fucking dork. I just really wanted one. And I thought about stencil shit and all that other stuff. I don't know. It just didn't shake out the way I wanted to do it. I don't know why. And it cracked me up because all of a sudden, I guess they got the license for it at Zero. So that's when I leapt on it. That's how that shook out. Yeah. it's weird because I've done silk screening and other shit like that, and stencil art and spray paint and all kinds of artsy shit. But for some reason, I don't know, with a skateboard, I felt like, I don't know, it's just a plank of wood, but maybe it just intimidated me. I don't know. It's weird. Yeah. I thought about that ever since I did do that, because I felt like I had to do it that way. I really wanted to do it that way. I don't know. And the other day I was talking to that gal in question. I think it might be, okay, here. If you guys have looked at skate decks when they're painted, both sides, just imagine one color. Sometimes you'll see how they'll spray the top of the deck and then they'll spray the bottom of the deck, but other times they're dipped. I think one of the things that really got my goat was trying to dip a board. I knew that all of the paint was going to run and I was going to have a bunch of little nodules on there. I'm looking around because the walls of my house, unfortunately, are just like that. It's not a good idea. Either way, I knew I would fuck that up if I dipped a deck, and then I'd be mad at myself for doing it and fucking it up. And I'm not sure what the process is with that. I think that's one of the biggest things that held me back, was doing that. And then I'm like, well, then I can stencil or do whatever the fuck over top of it if I'm going to do the fucking Crimson Ghost crap. But then it's going to bump up and then that's going to run, which I kind of wouldn't hate. Either way, I think that's really the mindset behind some of this. Back to point. So they're saying that they don't have corporate backing, blah, blah, blah. Simply committed to sharing the joy of skating in a way that's accessible to all. I hope this clears up any misunderstandings. And it sounds like she copied that straight off of their website where they rope in yuppies. I'm sure there are people out there who will probably assume otherwise and just say, you're just being mean. I mean, I am in some ways too, but this gal didn't speak candidly with me. She didn't use any transparency whatsoever based on what I said. She told me that she didn't have corporate backing, but that doesn't mean that she's not a fucking yuppie. Doesn't mean that she's not some well-to-do this, that, and the other thing. Another way to look at this, one of the other videos I left on here was about, here, so all time that we have is, sorry, I'm looking for some clothes to drag somewhere real fast. So time is money, as we've been told, right? And so anytime we're working a shit job, we're burning our lives. We're burning our lives away. That's one horrible way to put it, but it's true. That's what we sacrifice. And we're told that we have to. And technically, if you want to eat and you want a roof over your head, you have to. We all do. We all have. I mean, to varying degrees, that's how it works, unfortunately. Because we're working for somebody else. So what I'm getting at is, if you got the luxury to travel a distance out of town and then spend time at a fucking retreat skateboarding where you're learning new skills that aren't just, isolated to fucking skateboarding, that means there's a block of time. Most people only get a week off of work. That's if they've been working for a company for a while, once a year. Now this goes back to, if you got family, do you spend that week with your friends at a fucking skate park? Or maybe this is just a weekend thing. I didn't look up the website. I don't know the details to that. All I know is it's a retreat. It's a fucking camp and blah, blah, blah. Here in Portland, you name it and there's probably a fucking camp retreat. I shit you not. There's a pair of two Jewish brothers. I used to hang out with one of them. They're twins. And the epitome of Jewish brothers, or, Jews in general. The guy, he was cool. But I think I might have mentioned him before. He would buy exercise equipment. And this isn't necessarily the stereotype of Jews necessarily, but he would buy exercise equipment all the fucking time, super expensive fucking equipment, and then never use it, let it sit and get dusty and, rot in his fucking house, and then he would try to sell it to people. That's one of the many things he was doing. Yeah, why was I mentioning him for a reason, and now I'm getting off track. Oh, so he's the first person to tell me about an all adult, and I mean just like you and I, but an all adult, and it was just a goofy fucking getaway, but it was a summer camp. So if you didn't go to summer camp when you were little, which I never did, but that gal I told you that I skate with, she did grow up doing that. It's a thing, apparently, in the Northwest. Back home, I mean, my parents, they didn't send me this shit like that because they loved me. That's how I was raised, but maybe I'm wrong about that too. One of my old buddies, he did get shipped off every fucking chance they got, but he came from a bunch of yuppie fucking scum. So that's another reason why I think of things along these lines, in terms of retreats, or vacationing and at your chateau. I know people who have done that too. There's a lot of really wealthy yuppies back home in New Mexico, and the kids that I bump into in Portland, Oregon, their philosophy, their mentality, the way they conduct themselves is not far removed from that shit. Portland's a homeless camp, but it's being gentrified, and it's full of fucking dumb yuppies like that who would love this. Who would fucking love this. That's another reason why I chimed in. Yeah. So those are some of my stories. Those are some of my thoughts. This is what somebody shit out online. And I want to bark at her, because she missed everything I fucking said and left me this instead. But I think I'm going to leave it at that. If you guys hung out, thanks for hanging out.